everyone. Hope you feel well today and prepared for the next day of our AI and research methods. A masterclass you had yesterday, the whole day, which was led by Avi Steinman, and he talked about, in general, AI tools, how to choose the right AI tools for your research. He also talked about prompting methodology, how to give the right prompt in order to make your research more effective and arrange in the right way. And we talked yesterday also about some integrity issues with using AI tools. And today we are moving to integration of AI in traditional research methods for biomedical researches. Today we have a special speaker here, Irma Girtadze, who is a professor of Ilia State University. She leads different programs for master's program for public health and healthcare policy. But she has prepared a very, very interesting presentation about evolution of biomedical research methods, and I think that she will initiate the process today very well, and then we will move today how to incorporate AI tools in the traditional research methods, and then we have very interactive sessions and also panel discussions. Today we also cover a very interesting topic which was partially covered yesterday too. It was integrity things and using AI tools for the academic research, for studies, for students and teachers. And I hope you will enjoy today's session too. We will discuss tomorrow's agenda. Irma, floor is yours, and please.
Thank you very much, Eka, for putting all this together. This is tremendous effort, and I would like to applaud Eka for making this possible. She deserves, because this is connected with the lots of efforts, huge energy, investment, and tough days, definitely. So thank you so much for that. Yesterday was interesting lectures, by the way. I attended online because I wasn't able to attend it personally, and I enjoyed very much the sessions. So thank you very much to Avi. Probably he will join us, right? Absolutely. Yeah, okay, perfect. So, welcome to this presentation on the evolution of research in public health and healthcare. Okay. So, welcome to this presentation on the evolution of the research approaches in public health and healthcare. I'm Irma Girtadze, Associate Professor of Addiction Studies at Ilia State University, Faculty of Arts and Sciences, and I'm really grateful to be here to share some experience, some knowledge, and also to get some your perspective and experiences. I'm eager to that as well. So today we will explore together how research has shaped medical advancements, study design improvements, and their impact on human health and longevity. So this is the Edwin Smith papyrus. Yeah. So this is the oldest kind of medical record, one of the oldest medical record that is written in hieratic script in ancient Egypt and describes surgical operation that, like the technique of surgical operation and wound treatment based on observation. So these plates of the papyrus pictured here discuss the facial trauma. So early human studies has been conducted based on observations, and ancient civilizations such as Egyptians, Greeks documented disease and treatments based on empirical evidence. Let's briefly explore the history of epidemiology and biomedicine studies, and I bet all of the names are well known to you from the medical history, right? So Hippocrates, the father of the medicine, how we pronounce him, emphasized systematic observations of patients. Based on his observations, suggested the development of disease might be connected with some environmental and behavioral issues, and they are not random. That was kind of divergent thought about disease, because at the time people thought that, based on superstition, that it's the gods kind of superstition and supremature kind of force. So, considering one of the first modern kind of epidemiologist, he studied the fluctuation of the plaque. He collected data analysis, John Grant. He collected data analysis based on the mortality records. That was the first its kind of epidemiological study, which he later published, by the way, in Journal of Published Nature and Political Observations. And this work became really a classic example in vital statistics and epidemiology. It was the first systemic quantification of disease pattern in bigger population. So the one of the earliest record of controlled experiments, today we call them randomized controlled trials, that was conducted by James Lind, who is a Scottish doctor, a pioneer of naval hygiene. At that time, actually, scurvy, which is a disease of a major kind of health issue, was among sailors, but it caused, by that time, the cause of that disease was unknown. And Lind conducted kind of clinical trials by dividing scurvy-affected sailors into groups. And you see that 12 cases of scurvy he divided into 6 different groups, so that providing different kind of regimes of treatment, like providing cider or vinegar or seawater, orange and lemons. So James Lind's experiment showed that orange and lemons were the most effective cure for scurvy, with one sailor recovering within 6 days. So what was the conclusion of this kind of first randomized controlled trial after 4 weeks? The conclusion was that those who consumed citrus juice, fruits, as it's lemon or orange, showed significant improvement, establishing the connection between vitamin C and scurvy prevention. Today we know that vitamin C deficiency causes this disease, but at that time it was unknown. He didn't know the origination of this disease, but somehow he concluded that citrus helps. And actually his kind of first study, this RCT study, he recommended to sailors that they have to have in their diet menu the citrus in juice form or whatever, fruit form. So can you imagine that his recommendation adopted after 40 years of his discovery. So this is the timeline, kind of, when you have already proved data from the studies and it has been implemented into public health, and the kind of gap between the findings that have been implemented is like 40 years. If you ask me what is the gap today from the evidence, having the best evidence until it will be implemented, it's approximately 7 years in developed countries. So you can imagine how it could be in case of developing countries, this gap between the evidence when it will be implemented. So these landmark experiments laid the foundation for modern randomized controlled trials and influencing the development of evidence-based medicine. Can we remove that bar from the... okay. So, next we have the 19th century, John Snow, who conducted pioneering research on cholera outbreaks in London and acute gastrointestinal disease, using observational data to link contaminated water as source of the disease. So, though the true cause of cholera was unknown until the late 1990s, his work led to public health interventions and is considered the foundation of modern epidemiology. John Snow used this dotted map to visualize the cluster of cholera causes around the kind of Broad Street water pump, demonstrating the link between water quality and the disease. By mapping deaths in real time and conducting kind of door-to-door interviews, he identified that 73 of 83 deaths occurred near the pump, leading to its removal and providing early evidence for waterborne disease transmission despite the prevailing kind of miasma theory at that time. In later 1796, English physician Edward Jenner observed that milkmaids who had contracted cowpox did not develop smallpox, a highly fatal disease. To test his theory, he inoculated a 8-year-old boy. He was the son of his gardener with pus from cowpox sore, later exposing him to smallpox. When the boy remained healthy, Jenner provided the cowpox, actually he proved that his theory is correct, and the cowpox provided immunity to smallpox. That led him to development of the first vaccine. So, revolution in medical thought and practice happened when this first vaccine appeared and when the discovery of microbes causing infectious disease such as tuberculosis, cholera, diphtheria, typhoid fever, during the 1880s and 1890s created a revolution in medical thought and practice. And Jenner's groundbreaking discovery led to the first ever vaccine, paving the way for modern immunization and eventually leading to the eradication of smallpox in 1980s. So the early epidemiological discoveries were driven by astute observations leading to key hypotheses about disease transmission and prevention, While these findings emphasized the value of multiple approaches and led to public health actions, formal epidemiological methods had yet not developed fully. So the work by Richard Dole and Hill, also known as the British Medical Doctors Study, this study actually continued over 50 years. Can you imagine? So the study was conducted among medical personnel, and that study was first its kind of a strong statistical proof of the correlation between smoking and many serious diseases, including lung cancer. And yeah, it's really remarkable that it continued for over the 50 years. And in 1950, actually, two major case control studies provided the first strong evidence that smoking was a significant cause of lung cancer, making a shift from infectious disease to the non-communicable chronic disease research. So this cohort study led by Dole and Hill continued over 50 years and demonstrated that chronic disease have preventable causes, and setting the standard for the future cohort studies. And it continued until 2001, so that the questionnaire was adopted, refined, and again distributed among medical doctors in different years in 1957, in 1966, in 1971, 78, 1991, and that's helped research community to gather the information on changes in smoking and medical history. So the rise of experimental studies, yes, sorry, yeah, that was the slide I was looking for. By the early 20th century, experimental study designs became more structured, leading to the development of randomized controlled trials as a method to test treatment under standardized conditions. One of the first true RCTs were conducted in 1984, which was the streptomycin trial for tuberculosis, which set the foundation for modern evidence-based medicine. Cohort studies like Birmingham heart study followed populations over time to identify risk factors for the disease, while case control studies in the 1950s established the link between smoking and lung cancer. These methods remain fundamental in public health research, allowing scientists to analyze health patterns, trends, and outcomes that can inform disease prevention and public health policy. So the advent of computing enabled large-scale data collection, transforming public health research taught electronic health records and biostatistics, which improved the accuracy of epidemiological studies. Additionally, systematic reviews, meta-analysis have strengthened evidence-based practice, providing comprehensive insights that guide healthcare policies and clinical decision-making, ultimately enhancing public health strategies and outcomes. So the Human Genome Project actually revolutionized our understanding of genetic factors in health, leading to advancement in precision medicine and genetic screening. By sequencing the first complete human genome, with the initial draft releasing in 2001, which was with major errors and etc. It was refined later and continuously refined since Genomic research has enabled personalized treatment for conditions like cancer and rare disease, transforming modern healthcare. So here we have the example of genome sequence assembly, which is really interesting, but seems like very difficult, so it's not an easy job. So medical research has driven major advancements in vaccine, antibiotics, and chronic disease management, significantly improving global health. And examples such as the eradication of smallpox and the development of insulin for diabetes have contributed to increased life expectancy, highlighting the impact of public health interventions. Evidence-based medicine ensures that treatment and policies are grounded in rigorous research, improving healthcare outcomes. Decades of research have shaped guidelines for conditions like hypertension and diabetes, while public health interventions such as tobacco control policies have saved millions and millions of lives worldwide. What we need for the future directions to consider in public health research. The integration of artificial intelligence and big data is transforming health research, enabling more precise analysis and predictive modeling. Additionally, climate change and its impact on health are emerging areas of study, while ongoing surveillance and rapid response studies remain essential for pandemic preparedness and control. So the ethical issues, which is, I would say, paramount in conducting human studies, we also have the ethical advancements in biomedical research that have evolved to protect human participants, driven by past ethical failures such as the Tukhachev's syphilis study and Nazi experiments. Landmark guidelines, including the Nuremberg Code, Declaration of Helsinki, and Belmont Report, established principles of informed consent, beneficence, and justice to actually inform those study participants about all the risks that could be caused from their participation into the study. So today we have the institutional review boards, the mechanism that ensures ethical compliance in research, and we also the ethical consideration kind of pitfalls what we have today and kind of shortcomings are related ethics in genomics, AI, and data privacy, which continues to evolve. So to conclude my kind of speech, over time, research in public health and healthcare has evolved from simple observations to rigorous evidence-based methodologies shaping modern medicine and public health interventions. The advancement of systematic reviews and meta-analysis has strengthened evidence-based decision-making, allowing researchers to synthesize findings from multiple studies and generate more reliable conclusions. These methods have guided policies, improved clinical guidelines, and enhanced healthcare practices globally. Additionally, implementation science has emerged as a critical field, ensuring that research findings are effectively translated into real-world practice. By focusing on how best to apply evidence in healthcare systems and public health programs, implementation science bridges the gap between research and action, maximizing its impact on population health. As research continues to evolve, these advancements will play a crucial role in shaping future health policies, improving health outcomes, and addressing emerging global health challenges. So therefore, those, I would say, well-known people so-called influencers who say, I believe in science, but it's already an issue. You believe in science or you don't. There is no buts. Without vaccination, we wouldn't survive, and our longevity and lifelong wouldn't be as long as we have today. So the goal of biomedical studies is to drive public health actions that positively impact population health. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you, Irma, for your excellent presentation. And when we were discussing the preparation of this exact presentation, we had the feeling that that was actually the first time that we will review the evolution of healthcare research methods, because we had lots of lectures about different parts of health research, healthcare research, biomedical research, but still we really lack this information, how it was evolved after so many times ago. So it was really evolving, and how do we feel during this period? And we had also like the anecdotal situation regarding calculator. And if Irma allows me, I will tell shortly this story that when first time we started using calculator, we had the feeling that, oh, it is what's happening. So is there any risk that we will forget the skill of summing numbers or multiplying? And is it the real issue to forget skills? And the same questions actually can apply to the science. So are we forgetting the skills of research if we use some innovative technologies? I would like to invite George Spadiani, who is a Vice Rector of Batum International University. He will moderate the interactive session, but meanwhile, please share your questions or your comments about Irma's presentation. How it happens in your practice? Do you see, what is your experience of evolving your skills and your research methods time after time? I know that we have here very experienced researchers from NCDC. Would you like to share your experience? Would you like to share your comments? How it happened? What is your feeling nowadays when you have so many data? Your work is really increased, but does it help using new technologies, please?
I never use, so honestly, I never use.
That's a very short answer, though.
So far, so good.
I do experience to work on ArcGIS, and I use also Go data and some different statistical programs
Sorry, I saw that you mentioned about, I'm sorry, I saw that you were talking about AI to use, and that's why I said that I never used in my research, so.
It's also a very interesting impression, right? So what do we mean by AI and innovative technologies? Are they same or not? Maybe we'll have this discussion during our panel session. But yeah, let's keep this question for our future conversation. But anything else you would like to share? Okay, we need some motivation to accelerate this interactive process.
So as an NCDC staff, I would say that it's always overwhelming of having so much data and so few time to work on these interesting insights, and it's very crucial, by the way, to inform the policies, inform the strategies, but it's always, you have so much time pressure because you are implementing at the same time. So it's the new technologies provide this opportunity, this luxury of saving time, and it's huge. It's it's a lot. It's not about analyzing the data, coming up with the findings, interpreting these findings, but also time for me, as working with AI, was also the same time of teaching some new skills. Like I ask them to train in a specific area, and I find some trainings like on the online. I find it's very fascinating, but sometimes time, money, it's the barrier. And I ask, give me some short training for 2 days, or give me some insights about this area, and I find it's very, very helpful. Hope others use this experience as well. Yeah.
Thanks for all the guests and presentators. It was a very interesting topic. So we have Q&A session now. So as a person also newly exposed, whether it will be like AI and the implementation of these technologies, I just dare to draft a couple of questions, but it will be just a kicking off point for us to discuss, and I will help you with the microphone. So first of all, that I wanted to ask, maybe the good beginning is to get some our experience shared. So share some of good practices. So maybe if some of you can name the good example of yourself using AI in your research part is interesting, particularly. And so, to what extent did it help? How did it simplify your processes, giving you more accurate data, providing you some help from the extra work, and so on? So let's share these good practices maybe, and then let's see how it corresponds with the theoretical part, with the examples which Dr. Ravi was wonderfully talking yesterday.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you also for the presentation. It was very interesting. First, I wanted to add some things for the previous question, like with the evolution of epidemiology and our field. One of the things also in NCDC is how NCDC is also evolving with all these changes. So I was just thinking about the timeline of our institution and how during the time and its growth, it also integrated some new departments that are really relevant and hot topics during that time. For example, when the world started talking about the One Health and how it is all important. We also have NCDC then established the new department of One Health and started really working in that direction. There's also the pandemic preparedness, and we have separate department of pandemic preparedness that really works in this field. And also these innovative technologies, since unfortunately in many places the workforce is really small and there are not so many people who can do all the work, it's really good that there are technologies that can really simplify the tasks. For example, we really can spend much less time in those tasks with those technologies that we would do before that. So it really gives us extra time to work on something else. And about your question, yeah, we were discussing yesterday the good ways to use AI, and in all of that really simplifies our work. I've used that in many of the topics. So one of the most I would say is coding. So when epidemiological data analysis, when you work in statistical programs, one of the statistical program is R, which really requires advanced level of coding, and AI helped me a lot with that, and I think I wouldn't be able to do that on my own without AI, or I would you need at least 3 years to do that, when with AI I could do it in a week.
Perfect example. Thank you. Couple examples more maybe. People in the back, anybody? I can come with the microphone if any. Oh, so the coding and extension of knowledge is the first summary. So as we were talking about good practices, let's talk about restrictions and limitations as well. So maybe some of you can share the experience of whenever you wanted AI to do something and it was not able to perform, or it was not able to perform to the extent with the quality you were expecting. So what was the reason by your opinion, and what could be the strategy for mitigation of this unfortunate occurrences? Was there some bad examples, some restrictions, some limitation you faced, something you wanted AI to do it for you, but it didn't? No. Yes, help me, thank you.
Yeah, I would say like Lila yesterday was also speaking that she once used and tried it, but she didn't like it and then just stopped using it because like what AI sometimes gives you answer is really generic, and that's what sometimes you might not like. Okay, this like doesn't give me any value. It's really generic and doesn't have any specific details that I will need to. But also like yesterday we discussed how important is the good prompt. So I believe that we could get to the good stuff after really prompting well. And that's it, like at least even if it gives me, when I try to ask something AI, even if it gives me something that I don't like, I'm still happy because it's a starting point. And after that, like I could really work on it and get to something valuable.
Yeah, totally right. It could be a thinking trigger, but yeah, I don't remember which one. I think Google Gemini had in the initial, like this writing on the buttons. Okay, do the magic, but so some people definitely expect they will just press a button and everything will be solved. But it comes to prompt design and it comes to the selection of the way the second prompt, the third one, and so on, which was to where we want to indicate the artificial intelligence to go, to follow us, to be able to catch us, because our brain still operates, I think, in a bit broader manner in some of the cases. But you mentioned very interesting point about the readiness to use it. So my next question, I would like to ask about your opinion on the skills. What skills do you, as a researcher, as an AI user, will need to improve, will need to develop, will need to adapt to effectively use them? So, start from the AI functionality, we move to the personal level. So, how can you evaluate your own skills, and what do you think? What skills are necessary for, like, to get AI do the most of the things, to do your task in a better manner?
That I was thinking you're talking about who used, and I said personally from my side, not NCDC side, that I did not use AI. I did not mean that any technologies at NCDC, because we're using a lot. Not only epidemiology direction, but laboratory direction, like sequencing and etc., to really identify very unique information through the technologies. Regarding what you have to have, like what kind of knowledge you have to use AI, I think that I'm as a beginner, because I used only once, and looks like that my question was not formulated appropriately to get the information I expected. And if you don't really don't know what to ask or how to ask, it may give you information that you have to clean up after. You have to work on that to finally get the information you need. And what I found out in myself, that when I asked and I did not get what I needed exactly, I spent more time to clean up and sketch it the way I needed. The information I was thinking, okay, I could do by myself, not the dig through the whatever AI gave me and then get partially like from there, and then I did my information, etc. So to me, I would be, why I came here yesterday and also today, and I tried to learn is how to better use this tool and what you need to know. And I would love to have like kind of tutorial that what is the best for the beginners, or like for, it might be like different levels that you need to know, like people who are like me that never used and what I have to know, and people like Tata who is already using it actively. I would say she's using daily basis, right, in anything. So, and even like simple email writing. So she needs to like send email and okay, make it like more formal or something, and she gets that. I don't. So I guess that this will be interesting to have. Maybe it exists, some kind of tutorial that we could use, or who needs what kind of information to know, how to better use it to promote after the tool, and also help the, we're from the health sector, public health, and to use better developing this area. Thank you. Anybody want to?
Okay. One more question about this. Maybe somebody wants to add about like what skills you will need.
Well, hi, first of all, I'm not a well-experienced researcher, I'm just a student, but one of the most important parts of the AI, and personally I use ChatGPT, is that it's important which kind of data you feed AI. For example, once I wanted to retrieve ICD-10 codes for the specific organ system, but it gave me wrong answers. But I just noticed that I could download Excel part from the ICD-10 official website and feed ChatGPT just to give information about generally codes, and then asked for the specific organ systems, and it just gave me right answers. So the most important part is what you ask, then what kind of data you feed, what kind of resources you give to ChatGPT, then it gives you like right or the wrong answer.
I wanted to ask in a separate question, like how can we deal with the delusions? I think you already mentioned it. So we need to understand the subjects. We need to understand what we talk to AI, and we have to be able to evaluate what they are giving. Like this is a wonderful example, and like the critical approach to the answers what it's giving, that it's not the holy truth, that it's not the magic, that it's not the hidden knowledge is necessary, because like AI are delusional sometimes, and we need to use our own brains to deal with this delusion and find out what is right and what is wrong. When we are talking about the necessity of skills, I think there is one more question that came to our mind, and let's discuss it together as well. Like as this lady from NCTC said, like she doesn't need software development skills. She doesn't need to spend 3 additional years of learning to code. So this is skills she's happy she doesn't have to obtain. And what could be the skills that you might have to forget, that it won't be necessary, that you can give it totally to AI, and as using as calculating 3-digit numbers in your mind. It was kind of necessary skill when we were in high schools. Not anymore. You can not in AI. You can type in a browser page. It will do multiplication or division for you. So what could be other skills, especially for research applicable sets of skills that you won't need anymore? Like you can just get rid of them. Don't work on their development and so on. I think I made myself clear a bit.
No, because I just wanted to talk about also the previous question and the calculator example. It was really good. I didn't know that, and when I think about it, it's really, because with the AI, it's also like everyone's concerned that it could make us dumber. So that's it with the calculator. I guess people would also think that with the calculator now we wouldn't be able to calculate all these equations ourselves, and it might make us dumber, but it didn't. It's a really nice tool, and it just saves us time. So I hope that the same is with AI. It won't make us unable to do the simple tasks. We will just save time by AI doing it. And one of the most important skills with it, I would think, is critical thinking. Because when AI really gives you an answer, you should really look at it critically and see how this answer suits you. And yesterday also we had a good examples why AI, for example, ChatGPT, gives us the answer it gives. It's not like the universal knowledge or truth. It just based what's really out there in the web and how much of it is there. So if the wrong answer is more times in the web, then it will just give you the wrong answer. So that's one of the things. And I'm not sure what skills we should forget and we should just give up on some skills. I don't think that it would actually, for example, for reviewers, like one of the things is like just giving the papers to the AI and just say review it instead of you reviewing it. But I think that's also critical thinking, what you might stop doing. But I don't think that you would really lose that skill, because afterwards you should just review what AI did anyways, so you would still be able to think on your own.
Yeah, and if there is like a big amount of papers, you need just have technically look on. Maybe advantages was if you were reading faster than me, you are a bit more successful. Now you can ask for a short summary and it will be in more digestible form. Yeah, I think
may I ask you, all of you, to present yourself, because I know that I'm not, but many of you have already spoken. please.
Yeah.
Tell your names.
I think it's yours.
Just very shortly, my name is Marina Topruite. I represent the NCDC here. So I just shortly think it's the most time-consuming. It's regarding particularly not per se the research related, but it's particularly about the guidelines when you go to, for example, publishing the paper or for a grant proposal, and you have a specific question, and you don't want to go through all the different the sections, and you really need a quick question. It's always like providing the link or providing the content and receiving the responses, not really going in detail for the guidelines. It's very quick and easy, and it's very helpful for me. And I think the most of the users of AI just not really dealing with a long documents to go through in details and looking for specific information. It's also very helpful in that way.
Okay, great, thank you. Just a small comment about like this common narrative that it will make you dumber. I think everybody was saying it from the very moment that first cavemen didn't use fingers, then put some shells on the rope and like use this as a first calculator, then computers, then AI. After this, I don't know, quantum computers and so on, but like, what set of skills? If you look on our project logo, like it was made in 20 to 30 seconds, I think. It's quite nice logo, like, it was made during like me and Eka having a call planning some of these events, and like, we just told the AI like we need to show the three-party connection of the student, of the academia, of the employer, and the AI wrote a nice triangle, showed the interconnection, showed like the color scheme which is relevant to the sector. So I think all of us like the very first draft of the logo. To rewind it 5-7 years back, I think we would say to each other, oh, we need like one creative guy from the designer team that would like to think like which colors represent your project, which is like whatever the figure better resembles the mission, blah blah blah. Some guys who like have some vector graphic skills, who can draft it, paint it, make it ready for print. So it took 20 seconds. So, and it is not the set of skills the same like that she talked about coding. That was not the set of skills that some of us would really like to have. Okay, we would like to have maybe, but not for like, not in a short period of time, and it could not be a reason just to refuse. Let's not do the logo, let's just write the name of the project and so on. Same can be applicable to research, to the coding, to the data analysis, to summary and so on. Like, I did while Dr. Avi was talking, I also did some like testing. I read several CVs, made my impression. Did I like it or not? Maybe I wasn't very attentive. I was distracted because half of me was listening to the presentation at least. So there were some people I didn't like. Then I asked to AI to plan an interview for everybody. I just like through the uploaded PDF there, and I have to admit he selected some of the persons for interview and he drafted the same question I would like to ask and the directions I would like to go. So I was happy that like we agreed in this point, but he selected a couple of persons. I would not. Maybe I missed some details while reading the CVs, but this is the same example whenever you are working with a lot of the document. You can miss it based on human factor, but I decided to listen to AI, and it, like it turned out correctly. Then if HR department will have listened to me instead of AI, for example. Okay, what can we ask more? Eka, how we are with the time, or maybe you have some also ideas from here, looking on the auditorium.
Just I want to make some comments, no questions, about if you're speaking about high technologies and AI in healthcare system, especially in public health. Maybe it will be interesting for you, for my own experience, how we are using AI. I have PhD candidates at my university, and you know, always was the question: is this research method relevant? What we are choosing for our research topic? So, okay, it's still this question is very active and very actual. And previous years we should check many published materials, same kind of research to be sure this method is very relevant and very good for our research. Today is really helpful when AI gives you very good, let's say, very relevant research with outcomes, what already have these outcomes, not just particular researchers, also even countries, because public health, it's health of population, right? And it's very important for us to be sure our research results will be relevant and helpful, and recommendations what should be done after this research also will be relevant, actual, and helpful for our population health improvement. At first, to be sure about our research methods. Second one is, for example, if your English is not your native language. I'm also working as a reviewer many years from different publishers, scientific publishers, and when I'm getting research topics or articles for review, I understand this language is not native language for these researchers. And of course AI, especially ChatGPT, because it's special direction, let's say, it's very helpful to suggest some kind of for improvement in grammar. Okay, it's second one. Third one, also, if you are working with big data, for example, our PhD candidates previous years, they were working about regarding birth registry, cancer registry, and to do some kind of calculations and to use statistical programs by hand. Of course, was many difficult, but till to use today AI. It's on personal level, but my wishes will be to use these high technologies on our country's levels, because we are searching and we are reading many articles published already, and many hospitals, many institutions already they are using AI for improving their participants, their employees, for example, how to make their job more actual, more resultive, and more to take more good results. Let's say it's just wishes to use this kind of tools in for our population health improvement. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Elza. It was a wonderful examples for research design. So it is often whenever our ideas, if we have some experience in the field, our initial ideas agree with the AI, they are kind of but also what is useful, especially for example, designing of the research question, you can ask the second one.
Some challenges to use AI. This is when you're asking, and yesterday was Mr. Eve's, this presentation was very helpful, particularly for me, to check this in different way. I mean, when you're asking to give me relevant, already published articles, AI can give you really, not Wikipedia, can own some kind of ideas about articles. Yes, some design articles, some kind of title of articles with real authors, but these articles not from them, you know. It means you should very carefully check each articles what will be suggest for you for your future research. I mean, for example, for literature review. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I also asked, yesterday we were like tasked to draft a research design, to build a research design using AI. I gave them some prompts, a couple of intentionally less correct, one correct, what I was thinking. He gave like a logical research question. The only thing I could say, it was very general. It was very popular idea in this sector. So he didn't very much touch for the scientific novelty, and that might be one of the my question, but maybe not for auditorium. I wanted to ask it yesterday, but I forgot. Like one of the main objectives, yes, of doing science is like creating a new knowledge, and but AI operates on whatever data is already exists, whatever knowledge is already created. So it might be difficult. So you need to add some personal, the human creativity to the language model. Not to use the ones that are popular, and that's why AI decided to recommend on this. I think our time is coming to an end. I have one last question, but you will have some time to comment afterwards. This question is not from me. Because of the topics of the session, I asked AI, like, what shall I ask? So the last question is from ChatGPT himself, or herself, or itself, I don't know. He doesn't tell. With the biomedical researchers about AI application and research. And ChatGPT asked the question, how can AI bridge the gap between the laboratory researches and its clinical implications? I'm not from the biomedicine, so I couldn't answer it, but for you it's to evaluate how and whether this question is adequate for this kind of discussion. Let's see. So AI asked how AI can support the researcher to bridge the gap between the laboratory research and its clinical implications in the future. It's not easy, yes. So he decided to give a hard word for the auditorium, I suppose. We couldn't answer ChatGPT.
Actually, we can give time to the auditory
maybe
to think about
to brainstorm, yeah. And let's answer GPT afterwards, and let's ask him for as well. Maybe we can open and ask the same question.
How to apply this laboratory? Maybe it's I can just give my answer regarding our research results. Maybe will be in parallel. Okay, let's say that just make parallel. When our PhD candidates defend their dissertation, they also make results, right? And they make recommendations. Question is same. How or how many times or generally it's happened or not when their recommendations will be done or will be advised or will be how can say to get considered and to make application from the government side, right? It depends on how your government or healthcare policy is ready to get this application and to make some kind of ways how to act, to do some kind of activities, because sometimes they understand really these recommendations are very valuable, very helpful and maybe very useful, but they have no some kind of capacity or opportunity.
Time, money, resource, manpower.
Or even human resources to do this. For example, what I remember this is, for example, drug safety monitoring in our country, pharmacovigilance. Everybody knows how it is important. Even we have this part in our law, but there are no human resources and there are no results. How our country is working in this way, in this direction, and that is what we are sending to the International Monitoring Center of Drug Safety is very few, 0.0 some kind of percent. It means this solution not just from one side, how is this research done correctly or in the right way.
also your policy makers or your healthcare policy in particularly should be ready for application and for future development and implementation. Thank you.
You mean, just to clarify, you mean we can ask AI just like evaluate this recommendation, for example, in a scope how achievable it is concerning local, like socio-economic state, concerning existing healthcare policies. You mean like this? We can like use them as an evaluator, for like to shortlist from the 5 recommendations which are like the most tangible, the most achievable ones, right?
Yes, it's very clear what results from researchers done. If it is good for your population health, let's say, it should be implemented, right? And who can implement these research results? Should be ready your policy makers, your healthcare policy makers, your government for doing this kind of, right? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Your comments were very useful and interesting, and the discussion was led very interestingly, right? Because
thanks to auditorium.
Many important ideas were discussed, and now it's time to have a panel discussion. And for the panel discussion, Georgi, you don't think that you are leaving the key area? Yeah, you are still a moderator. And I'd like to invite Emily Anderson, Avi Steyman, and Verigo Mirtsulava. Please. And what is the topic for the panel discussion? I'd like to know that part of them we were already mentioned, discussed, and now we are a bit challenged. What else to discuss? But I hope for the creativity of our panel members, because the topic of panel discussion is how can AI be used to improve the efficiency and effectiveness and impact of biomedical research. Avi is like a bit surprised, but yeah, you're talking about AI part. The girls are discussing their own area. It's biomedical research, and let's see how the integration of panel members' ideas can happen right now in the real life. Your job is a bit hard, Georgi, today.
Yeah, I look on auditorium, so whoever will try to speak, but maybe we shall have like first introduction from members, or how shall we proceed?
Hi, I'm Emily Anderson. I'm currently an instructor at the MPH program here at ILIA. I have a PhD in epidemiology, and I do research focused on HIV, TB, HCV, and particularly among people who inject drugs, men who have sex with men, for example.
My name is Verigo Mirtsulava. I'm associated professor at Ilia State University, medical doctor by training, epidemiologist, and also have a PhD in epidemiology. My main focus is infectious diseases, in particular neglected infectious diseases, and especially dangerous pathogens, potential biological weapons. Thank you.
I think everybody knows me by now. My name is Avi, and we spent a good amount of time together yesterday. And yeah, I'm excited to learn from my colleagues here today.
As we've seen from auditorium, I think different people use AI or don't use, or just making first steps in using different areas that are like linked with their day-to-day operation, which are like linked with their topic of professional interest and whatsoever. But I would like first to ask the panel members the question to, can we generalize it? Can we like give a good practice example, give a good recommendation? What parts of the research can be in biomedicine, whichever like AI is like give us the best effect with the less effort? So what are the part of the research that we shall definitely consider of having a helping hand from the artificial intelligence?
All right, maybe I'll start with this one as the AI resident here at the table. So we discussed this a little bit yesterday, and I think there's a few rules to keep in mind about what parts of the research process we want to be automating, and which parts of the research process we want to be strictly regulating. And I think it's in direct correspondence to our ability to oversee that particular tool. So I am very against trying to use artificial intelligence in ways where we don't have the knowledge or the oversight to be able to check, to be able to evaluate the output, to be able to reference where the ideas came from. So for example, we saw yesterday, there's a big difference between tools that cite their sources and which are great for understanding certain parts of the literature and understanding where we're up to in terms of the novelty of the literature. That's very different than tools like ChatGPT and like other tools where really it's much more of a creative tool, which can be very, very positive when we're trying to find, let's say, different patterns in the data. It can throw out a few different ideas or correlations we might not have noticed. But we still need to be the authority in order to be able to say, yes, this is something that, that is significant, okay? Because significance, in the end of the day, is actually dependent on us. We're the ones that decide which correlations are valuable and which ones are not important. We're deciding what areas of focus we want to be giving on. So one example I like to give is with peer review. So people ask, well, should we be allowing AI to do peer review? And my answer to that question is, there are parts of peer review that I think we would all agree would be great to give to AI. So let's say, for example, formatting references. We all hate formatting references. We have to get it in the style of the journal. I don't think anyone here would be against us using AI, assuming we could trust it to format references. On the flip side, if I turned around and told you, from now on, AI is going to decide what is significant, okay, what's novel, and not you, not the reviewers, I think I would be very upset, right? Right? Who's to say that AI understands novelty and significance? So I think we need to analyze the specific use case and decide if that's something we want to be automating or not.
Any comments from the auditorium about the first one? No. Okay. Just to return to the questions about maybe it's a continuation of this. So which part of research about a part of the creativity and significance, like from your experience, from your recommendation, what are the parts that AI is not perfect at the moment? What are the part of the research that is better done by the human person involved? Where to avoid using AI because of risk of misleading, risk of false data, and about delusions? I want to ask second question separately.
May I? Yeah, I just want to clarify, when we're talking about doing the research, actually doing the research is a collection of data from the human population, like if you're doing the biomedical research. So there is no help with the AI there. So we need an objective data from the population, our study population, and then we need to extrapolate those results, analyze from the data, to the general population, which is the target population, right? So definitely there is no help of AI. Just to speak from my experience as working in the international environment, about the efficiency, AI has helped me in communication with colleagues across different cultures and different countries. by adjusting the tone of my emails, organizing the, so that has been helpful. Also summarizing the concept in a clear way, the concept which I have written in my own words. And also it has been really very helpful in terms of data coding and interpretation of the statistical outcomes. But to get to this point, basically I have always used my academic knowledge and work experience gained throughout the years. So I wouldn't say that AI can be of any help in terms of creativity in research or designing the research. In terms of improving efficiency, and please correct me if I'm wrong in any ways, it's like it can synthesize all the existing knowledge about particular subject, and again you need to be able to critically appraise whatever the output is from the AI, and also it can do a good summaries if you're really in a hurry to read in detail, and there we definitely, yesterday was really useful, which tool to choose to summarize the information. And from my experience, it has been also very helpful in creating tables and PowerPoint presentations. So I myself did an experiment in terms of efficiency. Today or tomorrow we have this presentation, I don't know about whatever, both of my presentations I will talk to you, I use the AI a lot, and I will try to showcase how I used it and how the yesterday helped me in terms of formulating the code of prompt, or how you call it, whatever, to talk with AI in a proper way. So that's just a summary that it can, to me, AI is kind of a good, nice assistant who can help you to save time and feel more confident in working in the international environment. Thank you.
Thank you. It's same experience, it means, for all of us what we are doing research, but I have a question not in person, in institutions, on institution level, institutional programs, for example, how the programs are working. Are they using AI? Your experience, what you share with us, it's your personal experience, right?
Yes, and when you're talking about institutional programs?
Yes, because, for example, in epidemiology, we are using statistical programs, right, for working with big data.
Yes.
Yes, my question is, on institutional levels, are there some institutions who are using AI in their daily working process?
Shall I just quickly respond and others will take over? There are some set of indicators in general in our type of work in epidemiology where you can create kind of a program for the routine bulletin, am I ready? Routine kind of fact sheet release, for instance, for a particular diseases. Or you can have an indicators for like country profiles of infectious diseases. That's where I see the role of the AI, just to summarize and create the data, but not in an analytical way maybe, but more in a descriptive way at that stage,
yes,
and create kind of routine press releases about the epidemiological situation for a particular communicable or non-communicable diseases based on the routine data collection or existing surveillance systems. And when we are doing the program reviews and assessments internationally, there are several tools. I don't know if you can call them AI tools, but DHIS, which has an output with very much integrated all the necessary indicators which are needed for the program assessment. So that's where I see the role of AI here as well.
Okay, thank you. Maybe it's mostly it's a question for mathematical part of how to work with with big data sets also. Yeah, thank you.
I think there is also regulatory issues for the programs, like to decide that we can trust on AI. So what are your thoughts about the future of AI, of a broader AI implication everywhere? Because even now, if we create an image, most of the social platforms require us to label it as AI made. So do we believe that in the future, like paper made with AI shall have this kind of disclaimer just to avoid these possible delusions, or anyways that it's not showcasing the work on the person but language model as well? So this is question that I'm following Ms. Elza's thought. What will be the regulatory boundaries maybe and their possible implication in research?
Well, probably obvious better to speak on this, but I haven't said anything, so I'll say something. I think, I hope that we require to have citations for using AI, similarly to anything else that you use that's, you know, a journal article or statistical software. I think it's just, you mentioned this yesterday too, very important to be clear about what you've used and how you've used it. I mean, I think as long as there's regulations or rules in place for that, for, you know, with journals requiring these sorts of citations, then hopefully it won't be an issue. But yeah, because to me it's concerning to think that somebody could do many parts of the research process with AI and not have to disclose that. So I feel like there should be some legal issues. Maybe
you can simulate a population, you can simulate lots of the things. So you can ask AI for, like, imagine a population of the country somewhere, give lots of social factors, economic factors whatsoever. Like, you can play with AI and came up with totally delusional population and world environment, and take a totally delusional research out from it, but it will be citing, it will be like in line with lots of the journals requirements and so on and so on. That's what I meant.
Is there any example of using AI in private sector, like marketing? Because the most of the cases, the business sector is evolving very fastly, and I say the marketing because I'm involved in health promotion and communication. And mostly I find these tools in helping me in this work as well. Addressing, developing the messaging, it helps a lot. Of course, you are going back to the community, understanding the insights you have. It's what the AI doesn't have because this data is not available. But it's interesting whether these tools are used in how, and if it's used and how, because they're for profit organization, and it's interesting how they make profit out of using AI.
So I just want to work off of what was said before and say that I'm not sure that we're really going to be able to fully track and trace AI. Because there's a question here of what the ideal world looks like, and then there's a question of what the real world looks like. And I don't even know that we all know all of the tools that we use, which ones are using AI. Forget about if we're going to report them. So let me just give you an example. Anyone here use Grammarly? Okay, I use Grammarly. Okay, so you're all using AI, which is fine. That's not an accusation. You've done nothing wrong. Okay, but Grammarly is built. It learns from people's corrections and changes what they accept, what they reject. It uses AI to improve it. Now we might say, okay, that's fine. We're okay with that, but maybe with data analysis, that's a more serious use of AI. So my suggestion, and I've made this argument in writing before, is not so much that we should be declaring everything, because sometimes when you declare everything, then it all kind of becomes meaningless. But rather, we should be adopting the EU AI risk tiers. Okay, so I don't know if you've seen this, but basically, as part of the general EU AI Act, different use cases of AI are categorized and classified under different risk categories. So for example, personal surveillance is a very high risk. Okay, if I want to create a company tomorrow which is going to track people in the streets using artificial intelligence, well, I'm not just allowed to do that, right, without getting a lot of approvals from different agencies. If I want to edit my paper, I don't need any official approval. So I think it's really important in the same way that we don't just throw everything into one category, that we kind of almost make sure that the companies are, almost like a red, yellow, green, traffic light, how risky the use of AI is, so that we know, and then decide what we're going to declare and not declare based on that. And that's true both for the research sector as well as for the marketing sector, as well as for other sectors as well. The last thing I'll say is there's no doubt that we are in front of a really big problem of trust. We already had a crisis of trust when it comes to research. Now the problem will get bigger, okay? And I'm not sure if the solution to that problem is necessarily stopping or hampering people from using AI tools. Rather, I think it's understanding, it actually goes back to values. I know it sounds kind of simple, but it's like, what are the values that we have as scientists? So when I teach, a lot of times the scientists say, well, I don't know if I trust it enough, right? So if you're a good actor and you really want to do the right thing, I don't think all of a sudden you're going to start, publishing 20 problematic articles every year. And if you're a bad actor who was looking to infiltrate the research, in a problematic or manipulative way, you're right, you're going to use this, and you're not going to declare it. So we need to make sure that we're coming up with systems that are actually going after the bad guys, right, and not penalizing the good guys.
Yeah, it's much a part of the ethic, because as in research, some of the great ideas and some of the just research ideas were stolen before, and where is the matter of ethics and where is the matter of regulation? It was always a question, and same will be with the AI.
First, about the articles, I think some journals, and I've seen it somewhere, but I can't remember where and what exactly, but some journals say that they accept ChatGPT as a co-author or in acknowledgement. They do that. Like, you can write either in acknowledgement, they put it, or as a co-author, they also accept some of them.
So there was a big controversy around this about 2 years ago, because there were a few authors that were trying to make trouble, but in a good way, meaning they were trying to test the limits of the journals, and they actually wrote, the authors are John Doe and Mary Jane and ChatGPT. The journals went nuts. The journals were not happy with this at all. They all kind of agreed that this was not allowed. The reason for that is because in their mind, in the end of the day, they want the scientists to be responsible. For them, authorship is responsibility. It's not so much who wrote the words, because we all know, by the way, that there are certain articles that are not written by the people who say they're written in terms of who typed the words, okay? We all know that there are consultants and there are, writers out there. But the question in the end of the day is who takes responsibility when things go wrong, okay? Or when there's misinformation that's out there. And if you put ChatGPT, well, good luck, right? Good luck trying to chase them down, right? There's no reputation. I mean, yes, the company has a reputation, but so as far as I'm aware, you are not allowed to use, everyone agrees that ChatGPT should not be a co-author. That being said, like you said, in the acknowledgement section or in the methodology section would be an appropriate place to acknowledge your use of GPT. And in my opinion, to explain, it's not an all or nothing. So what I mean by that is, I don't think anyone here in this room would just say, yes, GPT wrote my paper, right? We might say, it helped us at this stage to do this, it helped us at that stage to do that. I actually wrote a disclaimer recently where I said, here's my process. First, I write a draft. Then I send it to GPT to give me feedback. Then I decide which parts of the feedback I agree with. I then implement those, and I reject the ones I don't. Then I send it back to see if it thinks I've implemented the feedback properly. Then I go and make my revisions. Then I ask it to edit. Then it's actually a very kind of circular process. And I purposely wrote this long disclaimer for the journal that I was submitting to as an example of, in reality, how do we actually use it? Not how the journals perceive, and I wanted to try and make a point that it's going to become kind of so much part of our working process, it's not even going to be so easy to exactly explain what we did, where, and when. Imagine if I told you tomorrow, from now on, you need to declare how you use the internet as part of your writing your article. It's like, oh God, right? Like, I don't know, it's just so part of what I do. So I think we need to be idealistic in terms of research integrity, but we also need to be realistic and say, if we make too many burdens for researchers, what's going to happen is not that they're going to use it responsibly, they're just going to use it and stop reporting it. So let's be reasonable and ask people to do things they're actually going to do.
I have a question actually. So I guess going back to what I was saying about how do you know when you need to cite your use of AI? I mean, if I'm just using it for a little bit of paragraph editing, you know, where's there a line where I say, okay, I use AI enough that I should include it in my as an acknowledged tool? Or
so this is where it gets unnecessarily complicated, which is a shame. And I've actually been pushing my industry, the journal publishing industry, to say, don't make lives of authors complicated, because you can have two journals from the same publisher and have differing guidelines. Now, the reason for that is because they want to give the editors-in-chief editorial freedom, right? That's a big part of the scientific publishing process, is we're not going to tell you what to do. The problem is that you have 30 different journals and each one has their own guidelines. So just for example, Springer Nature came out about a month or two ago and said, you do not need to declare editing and proofreading with AI tools, across the board, okay? I think that's a good thing, because again, the same way I didn't need to tell them that, you know, who my editor was before, as long as I'm taking in the end, it goes back to the principles of research. Do I take responsibility? Is it reproducible? Was it done ethically? If those values are followed, in my opinion, I don't need to get into the nitty-gritty of each and every rule. That being said, there are other publishers, and I mentioned yesterday The Lancet, which I'm sure you're familiar with, right, as healthcare professionals, which is one of the top journals. They say, I want a screenshot of every single time you used AI as part of the process. That's not easy to do. That's a pain in the butt, right? So, and not trackable. So those are kind of the two ends of the spectrum. Unfortunately, I can't get up here and say, this is best practice, because the answer is, this is best practice for this journal, and this is best practice for that journal. So actually what I would recommend everybody to do, if you're going to publish, start at the end. Go to the journal that you ideally want to publish in. There's no guarantees you're going to get it in there, but go there, look at their guidelines, and then start your work. Because otherwise you might be in a situation where you've done something which you didn't even know, but it went against their guidelines.
I would like to echo this kind of example. For the non-English, non-native speaker researchers who are publishing their research findings in English scientific journals, sometimes they're getting advice from editorial board to use some proofreading services, which are quite costly. So
I own one of those that they recommend. Yeah, so yes, I know.
Nobody reports if the journal article went through this proofreading, right? So, just to be back to your question, Emily, if you are using the ChatGPT or whatever AI tool for the same purposes, could anybody elaborate the answer? What's the rationale behind these two reports? While, okay, it doesn't matter I paid for that or not, when you are just advising me as an editorial board to use the proofreading service, so where is the kind of rationale, right?
I mean, if you're telling me that publishers do things that are silly, I will agree with you any day of the week. That's for sure true. So I'm not going to necessarily defend the rationale. What I would say is, especially at the beginning, there was a lot of unknown. To this day, I don't think that the average publishing professional knows as much about AI as you do. So, and I say that from experience, speaking to them and understanding. And they also see AI as a bad actor. I'll explain to you why. The way I explained it yesterday, OpenAI started vacuuming up, right, content from around the internet. So in their minds, they stole my content and didn't pay me for it. So if I'm, right, The Lancet, and my content is now being used to fuel their large language model and they didn't pay for it, so I see them as a bad actor. Now, they might be right. I'm not saying they're wrong. They might be right about that. That's a complicated legal question about fair use and whatever. It's a whole legal discussion. But regardless of what we feel about that, that kind of made them feel like we're anti. Okay, we're in the anti-camp, which means they didn't learn so much about it, and they kind of came out against it. So they didn't start making distinctions between this use, that use. They just said, don't, right? In the beginning, that was the initial reaction. Then they realized that researchers said, to heck with you, right? We're going to do what we know and think is right. We trust ourselves. We're going to use it in the way that we think is responsible. And then they said, okay, we understand, but we're still going to make strict requirements about it to make sure that, that we're not getting in trouble. The last thing they want is a scandal whereby an important piece of research, it comes out that it was written by, a chatbot, and then they look foolish. And that is that. I promise you that every single publisher has published research that is problematic. So what I'm excited about is actually the flip side. I'm excited about AI being able to detect problematic research, right? The source of the illness can also be the cure in this particular case. If you can use AI as a way to kind of root out bad data, for example, okay? Another secret of the trade. They're not reviewing most of your data, okay? When you send off a paper to a publisher, most of the time the reviewer's not looking deeply into the data. So if you can use AI to check the data, all of a sudden we might get better science.
One more question about example of journals you mentioned that have a strict AI policy. A part of GPT there is zero GPT as well, so lots of the other AIs as well, which are AI detectors. So you just give him text and it analyzes, or she. I received also already critics about this, so it analyzes. But I have GPT's permission on it. So it analyzes how much text is AI generated. And there is the next part of it, the next evolution is undetectable AI something. I didn't try it, but so it's versus the persistent thing. So what is the future of this use? Do these publishers check texts through zero GPTs or something like? Shall the new language model come to existence which are more difficult to detect or undetectable, and so on and so on and so on? What will be the future of this technological war? Yeah, so it's a question.
In short, don't use it. Today, okay, it is not good enough. That's I've done research on this, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday. Just the way it works is it is looking for patterns. It's looking for certain words that appear more often in AI text than in non-AI text. It's looking for certain sentence structures. So for example, if a text has a lot of sentences around 15 words, it'll say, ooh, that looks like AI. But those are very those aren't indicators that are very trustworthy, okay? Because it could just be that's the writing style. So it's very different than plagiarism, where I can say this is 100% plagiarized. The best we can do today is say there's a 90% chance, okay, it kind of reminds me of the COVID tests at the very beginning of COVID. It's like, well, take the test and it probably is right, but we're not really sure, right? And as scientists, we're kind of like, that's not good enough. So if we're going to be starting to call people out and say, oh, you used AI, so we're going to kick you out, you need to have a 99.9%, in my opinion, right, confidence rating in that. None of the tools are there. My guess is they're not going to get there because every time they get better, the next GPT gets better. So then they have to rebuild their tool all over again. So I think we just have to come to terms with that being the case.
That's really challenging when you, as a teacher, need to evaluate the homeworks of students, and when you're checking and it says 90% probability that this was written by ChatGPT, that's kind of still alarming, still a red flag. Although it's not 99.99%, it's still evolving. And even reading the homework performed, you understand some, style of writing. Yes, pattern, and also your students' ability, capacity, and also you're comparing, right? So that's kind of tricky. Another what I wanted to highlight is that as far as more and more journals are appearing on a scientific horizon, more and more reviewers are needed for the scientific journals. And this is kind of a really emerging issue for the journals that are publishing very extensively biomedical research. So I personally think that AI could be some sort of screening tool for this kind of purpose, to identify to what extent the article is suitable for the journal, if it responds to journal scope, and to some extent it could be used as a screening tool, but not entirely kind of maintain the human, some brain who can give you the meaningful kind of feedback. But sometimes when you're reading, for example, the reviews, you can detect that, some part of this review was written probably by AI, because it's really general, lacks some very specification and etc. So probably this could be the next kind of step for the startuppers, big tech companies to think about, to modify somehow this AI ability so that creates some platform for journals for screening, criteria-based screening. Yeah, that's.
So I just have a very brief comment. The topic that you're discussing now is actually something that is covered under my presentation, and I will shortly speak about that. Yeah? What is the ethical usage, and also they call it like, as for the AI detection software that already exists, I wouldn't suggest or advise of using that because they have this high number of false positives, the cases they get it, and I will discuss that shortly later on. This is just an announcement for people to stay here.
Thank you for making this comment, because I was like,
I have another question actually about this sort of thing. What's considered plagiarism? Because it's just in general. I'm thinking about that a lot because I'm using AI to help me make slides, and I'm trying to reword whatever I have on from Gemini or whatever.
Yeah, that's a really good question. First of all, does anyone know where the root of the word plagiarism? Does anyone know what it means? Sorry?
Plague, I think.
Can we discuss this for the next session?
Yes.
Because it's the topic of
absolutely.
Yes. And I have a very simple question. And this question moves back to the first comment of Vericom. So how can we say that this tool is AI tool? Not just something innovative or technical tool, but exactly AI tool. Is there any specific definition to make ourselves sure that yes, we are using or not AI tool?
Okay, I don't think it was a question to me.
Okay, the question's to me. Okay, yes. Right. So first of all, artificial intelligence is a very broad, field, as you well know, right? There's been artificial intelligence for many decades now. This is not a new thing. What's new is, I would say, two big things. First of all, this idea of generative artificial intelligence, so creating something from nothing. I mean, it's not really from nothing, but creating something new, okay? And really what the big, what made GPT accessible to all, because there were previous versions of GPT, was the chat functionalities, the ability to interact and to have a back and forth, right? That's really the big game changers. So what I would say is something that is defined as generative artificial intelligence would be any tool which is has the ability to create something that has a database of knowledge, okay? So it has some content. Could be academic papers, could be magazines, could be any pool of content. It can learn that content. It can, using algorithms, it does what's called chunking the text. It turns the text, it understands some word patterns, and then it can learn which words or which phrases are similar to other words and phrases, which ones come in similar proximity. And then it'll say, okay, when you give me a new question, which I've never seen before, I can look into my memory, I can look into my database in order to create a new response. That's the generative response. So what I would say is any tool that is learning from existing content or existing knowledge and has the ability to create something new from that knowledge is what I would define as generative AI, which is what we should be aware of.
I just wanted to add something about, like, the question is how can we tell it's an AI? There's actually an interesting podcast. It's called Shell Game. Have you heard about it? It's just a journalist who got really interested in this field. So he just fed AI his own data, his own voice, and then he started calling people. The AI started calling people, and he was just wondering if people could understand how much he could do with this. And he did a lot of things without people realizing this was AI, and he even, like, sent it to his Skype meetings and so on. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, there's a Lithuanian researcher who I met recently named Marcus. I forget his last name, but you can try and look him up. I believe the company they created is Perfina AI. He claims to be the first lecturer in the world who taught an entire semester with his AI twin, his AI digital twin. Now, I don't think he actually taught the whole semester. I think what he did was he uploaded all of his syllabuses, his articles, all the content from the course, and then basically students, whenever they wanted, instead of him having office hours once a week, students could interact with the bot, okay, that he created, ask questions, get answers, and he was able to monitor the bot from the background. So he did two things. First of all, he saw what are the questions that people are asking all the time, because don't forget, people aren't always comfortable asking questions. So here with the bot, they would ask whatever they want, so they got better, more real questions. And number two is he would see how well did the bot answer those questions, and when it didn't answer it well, he would go and correct the answers, and he would make sure he'd update the bot for the next time. So it's actually learning with the professors kind of using it to learn with it. And, you know, he says the students loved it. So anyway, yeah, it's an interesting future that we're heading into.
To move it to research, like we can imagine, like some researcher will create a chatbot who will analyze all peer reviews, all paper in this field, summarize and plan all the policies, including healthcare and something, and build the 1% success rate thesis or something. Yeah.
And maybe that's the last comment.
Okay, yes. Okay, last question to you, please. Maybe here are PhD candidates, PhD students also, and they know they should accept their research methods and everything around research in bioethical, with bioethical committees. Bioethical committees should accept, right? How you think? What can be big challenges in ethics from the AI? Because we know first law what was done from European Union, it was about ethical principles with AI. Okay, finally, what should be for our future researchers will be linked with ethics and AI. Thank you.
Here regarding the artificial intelligence tools, yeah, and to have discussion on that perspective. First of all, I suggest that we start with this, some content of the presentations are done or made by our partners from the European Union, and we have permission to use it and to reuse it, yeah. So one of the things, the starting point that I wanted to start is the academic misconduct or research misconduct that is kind of developing through the years. So if we can remember, or if we can take a minute to think of what was the biggest challenge, and you also already mentioned it, the plagiarism, yeah? So the plagiarism is equally important both in the teaching and learning and also when it comes to research. But when the academics or the people in general notice that it might be a problem, then the solution was text mashing software that was kind of used by the universities, by the publishers, and we actually have subscription to Turnitin at Ilia State University, and many universities across the world are using the same software, or it might be a different one. But the idea is that when students submit the text, the system checks the originality and it shows kind of report with some part of the text highlighted with the indication from where this is copied. Yeah, and we all, as a teachers, we all are using that tool. We've been using this for years already. But later on, when the pandemic started, actually, we noticed that students found some way out of this, how to avoid plagiarism detection within this system. And they recorded the video guides, the instructions. There was the Australian students who created these video guides. They uploaded in YouTube and they spread it all over the world. And in 1 week, they got more than 1 million views. And actually, we also had the same cases at our university. So the idea was that students took the same text, copied it into their Word document, then added one letter before each word. They changed the color of the font from black to white, saved this as a PDF document, and submitted as their assignment. We as a teacher, when we open the file, we don't see that letters added because the color is white, so we can't see it with ourselves. And the system thinks that this is a different word because it has a different letter in the very beginning. So this was something that the students came up with, but later on also this kind of text mashing software systems also they made some changes. They now they detect this kind of cheating as well. Yeah, but the ways and the forms of plagiarism and the cheating varies from different institutions, from different levels of the studies. So I will not speak about this that much, because then we have another way of cheating, that's contract cheating. Yeah? And I'm not sure about the Israeli practice, but here in Georgia, like, that was a very hot topic after the pandemic or during the pandemic, because we were moved to emergency distance teaching. Everyone conducted everything online, and out of a sudden we saw Facebook groups or pages that they promoted that pay this amount of money and we will write a master thesis for you, or if you pay this amount, like, we will write an exam for you. And that was something that then it wasn't easy to detect. Yeah, so the plagiarism is more easy because the system will help you, or it might be your previous knowledge that it might come up that you have read it somewhere and you remember. But in case of contract cheating, it's not a plagiarism, it's not that easy to detect because they are created kind of originally. Yeah. So, and there was actually the biggest problem for the UK higher education. And recently, a few years ago, there was a law introduced in the United Kingdom that they were the first country who actually criminalized the contract cheating. So meaning that, saying that if a person or organization will be identified that they are providing this kind of service, they will have this case kind of criminalized. Yeah. So and the same happened in some of the European countries later on. If I'm not mistaken, there was a Slovakia, the next one, who introduced this kind of law in higher education. But then if we look from this perspective, we ended up here. Yeah. So recently, it was 2023 January when ChatGPT was introduced in a public way. So, and then some group of the academics, they started that they had kind of panic that our students now will use those tools and they won't read and write by themselves. Yeah. So this was something, the biggest concern, I would say, for the academics. Some universities or even some countries decided to not give any permission to their students to use the artificial intelligence tools, but later on they ended up that it was a silly decision, so there is no way out, there is no, so it doesn't make any sense if we say that our students shouldn't use that, because they are using, we've been using, yeah, and they won't disappear, yeah. So I will try to, what I want to tell you is that I'm not against of using the AI tools, on the contrary. I'm the one who promotes of using the AI tools. But at the same time, we need to mention that we need to know how to use them ethically, or what is the ethical usage, or what do we mean under the ethical usage of the AI tools. And for that reason, I actually will go like this. I created the 5 types of different artificial intelligence tools, let's say in this way, because all of the discussions that I have heard today is about ChatGPT or those who generate the text, but then there are a lot of hundreds and thousands who are doing different type of things, yeah? So they are creating different content, and so let's have a look from this perspective as well, yeah? So in the first type of those tools, we can have the ones that actually was mentioned shortly before, like the Grammarly, or even the Microsoft Word document have this function by default. Whenever we write a text, we can use this function to make some corrections in terms of spell checking and grammar mistakes, and it does suggest some changes, yeah? So if we ask, if we have this, if we use, those are considered as an AI tools, and kind of, yeah? So if we are using that, we are using them, we will be using it, yeah? It's not a problem at all. So using those kind of tools are ethically, yeah? So, and it doesn't really require, or it's not required to have them in the reference or to mention them somewhere. We don't do that. I remember when I was a student, we used to, and we had to write something into the English. We went to the people who were from the UK or native speakers and asked them to just read this paper before we submit. So, but we never mentioned that in the acknowledgement or somewhere to our professors that document was proofread by this and that person. The same happens here, yeah? So if we use this kind of tools, we don't think that this is a problem and we need to mention them somehow, yeah? The problem might be if we use that on purpose to somehow try to either to hide the plagiarism or any academic misconduct, or to reduce the similarity percentage, yeah? So in that case, that might be a problem, because one of the, what just comes into my mind is that whenever I give an assignment to my student and saying that you have to write 1,000 words essay, and if they put comma after the word but have a space in between, it's counted as a 1 word additional, yeah? They might increase this number with using this technique, yeah? So if they do that, then it will be a problem, because it will be a kind of cheating, type of cheating, yeah? So I forgot to say hi to those who are online. If you have some questions, comments, feel free to write them into the chat. We have our colleagues here who will check it, and they will let us know. Okay, let's go on. The second type might be the tools that actually helps us to either translate from one language into another one, or it might be tools that transform the files from one mode to another one. So those, for example, the one that changes speech into the text, and this is actually used by the researchers who, for example, conduct the focus group or the interviews. Sometimes you get audio files, you record those interviews, and then you want transcript of that text. And those tools perfectly work in case of English. Unfortunately, there is none into Georgian, at least I couldn't find it. It doesn't really work well in case of Georgian language. I'm not sure about the Hebrew, but yeah. For example, NVivo has this kind of function. It does, or you can change, you can make this, transform audio files into the text and then make analysis. Yeah. So, and as for the translation, we doing that. That's not a problem at all. Those translation tools are there for us to use if we want some quick. If, for example, I want to translate some paragraph into another language, it's not a problem at all. We don't really mention this, that I use the Google Translate or any other to translate that. And also, when I was a student again, we had to add the dictionary in the bibliography, yeah, back in 90s or early 20s, yeah, but nowadays it's not mandatory. So for example, if you submit an article or if you're writing a master thesis, all of the instructions guidelines says that never put the encyclopedias, dictionaries there because it's not that important, yeah, so it doesn't really, there's an academic source. The same goes with these kind of tools, we never mention that, but so it's an ethical usage, but when the problem might be when using those translation tools, if I'm attending a language class, yeah, if I'm studying foreign language and the teacher asks me to translate one page from one language to another, and I will go and use that translation tool and submit it directly to my teacher, then this will be a problem, yeah? But at the same time, my colleagues from the English department, they are saying that they are using those AI tools very effectively because they are giving assignment to the students to make some translations and then write an analysis, how it translated, what or how satisfied they are with the result, what might be changed, etc. So it's also on us, on academics, that we need to somehow modify the existing practice in a way that to incorporate the AI usage into the assignment with students. And then the number 3 type of the AI tools are those who generate actually the text. Yeah? So we've mentioned ChatGPT or the one by Google. By the way, my colleagues also mentioned that the Gemini is better in case of Georgian language. And you can try that. Some of my colleagues told me that even with the translation, it's better, and yeah, you can have a try. So in case of these tools, so whenever, if we have that in our course, or we design our assignment in a way that students have to use that, it's not a problem at all, like in terms of ethical usage. A good example of this might be, for example, me as a teacher, I have this kind of assignment with my students, and I see my students over there, so they also had this kind of, so they have to come up with the research idea, with the research topic, yeah, for the final paper that they submit. And whenever they have to think what will be the research topic, I just recently, in the recent semesters, I told them that perhaps better to use ChatGPT, have discussion with that. So you can say that, you can write the prompt that I have this and that assignment. I have to write 15 pages of research paper. I have to find credible sources. And then my interest is this, the broad topic. And perhaps you can suggest what will be, or what can be the focus under this research. So you can kind of brainstorm with these AI tools and identify your focus, or what are the tendencies, to get some data or the information back information, yeah, that will help you in order to write your research paper. But also, there are different forms and types how that can be, the usage can be incorporated when you are working with students. So in the previous session, you also mentioned that some of the researchers are using that when writing the research papers. And this is kind of the topic that I wanted to comment it on, although it was clearly mentioned that none of the journals and publishers say that you can have AI tool as an author in the publication. So far, this is not possible, and it was very well explained. The only reason is that the AI tool cannot take any responsibility. Yes? Therefore, they can't be indicated as an author. Then there is a question, yet we don't, or although we don't have this as an author in the publication, but can we use them in some direction? The answer is yes, but you have to acknowledge it, and I will show it shortly in another slide. And at the same time, you have to inform the editor. And then editor is the one who makes this kind of decision. So unfortunately, or fortunately, so far we don't have any defined answer to this, to what extent you can use the text generator tools when you're working on the article. The defined answer is that you need to describe it if you have done it so, and you need to inform the editor when you submit your abstract or manuscript, so that you declare that this was your practice of using the AI tool, and then they make a decision whether this is acceptable or not. And vice versa, all of that we just currently mentioned can be example of the unethical usage of those AI tools. I had actually quite a lot of cases when students submitted the assignments that was a written assignment, and those texts was generated by the AI tool. At that time, we were using Turnitin with the AI detection. And then I invited them for the consultation individually. I met them and I told them that, look, this is what the system says. And actually, the majority of the students said that, yes, they used the AI tool because they had time pressure and they found the easy way. But then I had one student who said that, no, this is a text that was written by myself. And then she told me that she wrote the text and then copied this text and pasted into the Grammarly to check the grammar mistakes and spelling mistakes. And then, once it was done, she copied the text out, pasted into the Word document, and submitted it as an assignment. But when the Turnitin checked it, we actually got this 100% of written by machine and not the human being. Yeah. So it means that it somehow leads us to another type of the AI tools, which I will tell you shortly. Yeah. But yes.
How you checked?
How I checked. Actually, I didn't do anything. The system does it. So whenever the student's paper is uploaded, it checks and gives you the same, not the same, but the design is the same result as they do in case of the plagiarism checking. So the text is colored, it's somehow highlighted, and on the top corner it says that this amount of the percentage of the text is more likely to be written by the machine. So it doesn't definitely says that it's written by the machine. And it also has a comment somewhere there that please consider that this result might not be that true. Yeah, so there is some probability that the result might be false positive, but I will mention that in a few slides. Yeah. So these are some examples from the already published publications. Avi mentioned that there are some articles that has been written by AI tools and they are published. Yes, it happened, and it happens. So as you can see, this one was published in Elsevier. Perhaps you are familiar with this case, and It starts with, certainly here is a possible introduction for your topic. So yeah, so this article went through the peer review. So that, to my understanding, like it has at least 2 peer reviews who read it, yeah, and the editor then who made the decision. And the second one over there, it also says that I am a ChatGPT and I can generate this text, and it has in the discussion part of the paper. And there are a few more examples, but they were highlighted, or we got information about that after someone noticed, yeah, after they were published. There might be the rest, which we don't know yet, yeah. So this is something that whenever we will speak, or we are speaking about the usage of this AI tools in research or in publication, we need to be very careful. I'm not saying that we don't have to do that, but we need to explain it to the publisher, to the editor, in order then to make a decision, yeah, to declare it from the very beginning. Okay, so the next type of the AI tools might be the ones who does not generate the text, but generate the codes. One of our attendants mentioned that they are using the codes, the AI tools to create the codes, for example, for R programming or any other different, yeah. It might be the AI tools that you can create the some audio files, video files, infographics, and etc. But the rule is the same, I would say, or the practice. And then finally we have the type number 5, and these are the tools that actually detects whether this content is created by the human being or this is created by AI. And again, in previous session or during previous session, you mentioned that there is a ChatGPT 0, which is actually not free. You have to subscribe to that one. Like Turnitin's AI detector, we also mentioned it, and many others. So they spend a lot of money to create these kind of tools, which will says that this content is not created by a human, yeah? But then the question comes how accurate those tools are, or is it worth to pay that much for the university to get license to that? So if we get back to the example, how the plagiarism is detected, and how, if we compare that, the practice, or how the AI generated text is detected, there is a big difference in terms of evidences. Like in case of plagiarism detection, the system says that this is the text which is similar, and this text is uploaded either somewhere at the university or it is published in the internet. You actually can click it, open it, read it, download it. But in case when it comes to AI detection, the system only says the certain number of the percentage. It doesn't give you any evidence. Yeah? If student will write an appeal that, no, this is written by myself, you can't do anything. Yeah? So there is a very interesting study here, which I put the link, and later on you can double check it. It's a recent publication, actually the one of the last one. They conducted a study, compared 7 or 8 different AI detection tools, and they find out that at that time the best was Turnitin, but at the same time, by best we meant that the success rate kind of was over 70%, and for that reason, the authors of this publication recommend not using AI detection tools. Yeah? And this is something somehow like my message here, that we as an academic should not concentrate on detection, yeah, and punishment, rather than speak to our students openly on that and explain them how to ethically, or what are the ethical usage. Yeah? It's not easy, because somehow like our students, or generally like people, want to get the result quickly, and whenever they see that it can generate the text, they might generate everything. But then it comes to it's on our responsibility to actually explain them. Another example of that might be one of the assignments that I have recently is that once they come up about their research topic, they need to find 5 academic sources about that topic. And I asked them to use ChatGPT to find those sources. what they are doing, they are just writing the prompt, give me academic sources on this and that. And then we have a discussion in class, so how satisfied they are with the result in terms of the credibility of the sources or trustworthiness. Yeah? And we found out that out of these 5 sources, usually 2 or 3 are the one that doesn't exist at all. Yeah? And then we have a discussion on that whatever, doesn't really matter what the machine will generate for you. You still need to go and read it, you still need to double check it, and then make a decision if you use it or not. But at the same time, my students are using the subscribed version of that tools. They pay certain amount of money to have subscription, and they say that the ones are updated, so more advanced. Yeah? So the subscribed version doesn't have that much errors and mistakes. Yeah? And one of the comments also I wanted to add in previous panel discussion, recently it was a big case of actually the Taylor and Francis, that publisher, the world-known scientific publisher, they gave access to the database to ChatGPT, and then it means that all the publications published under these journals were accessible for the ChatGPT. Yeah? And then the authors of those studies or the articles, publications, they came out and shouted that we didn't give the right for you to do that. It's the copyright is on us as an authors. Yeah? So it always questions to what this tool has access, from where it generates its content. And there is also one thing that we need to consider, that there might be some fake information that comes out somewhere in the text. Yeah? Okay, so then we somehow are going to the final slides. Yeah? We spoke about the acknowledgement. It's something that I always tell to my students also, to do that, and people in general. So acknowledgement means that somewhere in the beginning or of the paper, if you are submitting this paper at the university, you should mention that in which form or what type of information you got from the AI tool, in which or how deep you use that, what was your prompt and what it generated, or how do you use it. But it shouldn't be that long, because we know that sometimes the prompt might be bigger, then the outcome might be even longer. So it can be a summary of, in one paragraph, how I used AI in this paper, and you have to write it somewhere in the beginning. Or if you are submitting that for the journal and for your publication, this acknowledgement should be addressed to the editor of the journal, so that you declare that you use that. But I'm still kind of afraid of using, if not afraid, but I think that it wouldn't be considered that much, but it might depend on the field. Like, I come from social sciences. There I think that it might be problematic for editors whenever they see that some of the content might be generated from the AI tools, but it also depends on what do we mean under that, and to what extent we use that AI tool, and what did we actually generate it by that. And finally, then it should be given in the references. The APA actually was the first one who introduced the proper way of having that AI tool in your reference list, but then Chicago and Vancouver and many other academic styles, they also introduced it. So you can double check it later. Yeah, and with this, I think we can somehow finalize. Then there was one of the recent study that actually was on what are the students' perception of using AI tools. And then actually this study was very interesting, because there is something that we couldn't, or before that we didn't think that they were that important. Like the students shouting out and saying that using AI in academia might be reason of inequality or accessibility, saying that if a teacher will design an assignment that students have to use AI tools, and some students will have the subscribed version and some will use free, that's a problem, yeah? Because it's we will end up with the student wouldn't be at the same position, yeah. So that is for that reason, some universities have already have the institutional license to AI tools. And I was speaking to my colleague from Tallinn Technical University, and they got the institutional subscription on Scopus AI, actually. And all of the faculty members now are having this access, and they are making some pilots to use those kind of tools. And then a lot of students are saying that we need our university to explain us clearly how can we use that, or when it will be a problem to use that. Unfortunately, it does not, I don't know many universities in Georgia who have this policy already. While the Eastern Europe, like Western countries, at the universities, they have developed these policies, and at least the faculty members, students know how to use them, or what will be a problem, or to what extent they can use the AI tools. So there might be some policies that regulates it. And so this is very interesting study, and you can, I just listed it here, you can double check it. When it comes to students and their perception, it's really something that we can consider. Yeah, and then the final slide from my side, but those are the questions actually that we can have a discussion on, perhaps, yeah, or hear your thoughts. So, in which cases we can have these AI tools as instruments to benefit from, and in which cases there might be some problems. Let's say one example that I started the discussion with my students are: would you go with the doctor who is checking your, who will check what medication will be given to you through the AI? Would you agree to have an appointment with that kind of doctor, or you would prefer not to do that? Yeah. So this is one strange example, but it does not mean that that I'm against of the usage of the AI tool. The only thing that I'm trying to stress out here is that we need to know or navigate through to explain it to our students, and more from this perspective, that what will be considered as an ethical usage of those tools, and what are the cases when they should be careful, and to what extent they can use those tools. Yeah, all of these examples that I mentioned previously, coming from the data falsification and data fabrication, that happens a lot in the research. The AI tools can be used in both ways, to detect those kind of misconduct, but at the same time to support those kind of misconduct. So I'm leaving this as a food for thought, yeah, for you. Unfortunately, I don't have any answers to that, defined answers, yeah. So what I'm trying to explain is that we have this kind of two ways, and now it's up to you. You as a student, you as a researcher, you as a faculty member, you have to make a decision by yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kika. It was a very comprehensive presentation with lots of different approaches to ethical issues with using AI. I have one question to you before we move to the panel discussion, and I'd like to invite Avi again. Yeah, that's your destiny in Tbilisi, I mean, nothing to do. So my question is, should we have any specific approach regarding video resources, like YouTube resources or something else, should we consider something more than you mentioned now?
You mean the video resources?
Yeah, for example, using YouTube resources for
research
for publication, for research, yes. Yeah, so that's also.
So actually it depends on the topic. Yeah, if I got the question right.
What is the detection tools for video resources? So, for example, if we use YouTube video as a source,
yes,
for the publication, so should we consider something more than you mentioned here, or it's generally
okay? So. If someone will take a YouTube video and use it as a source for their research, you have to give this in the references. If you don't do that, if we take this theoretical case that someone took the video and made the transcription or transcribed it word by word and put it into the Word document, there is not any tool that can identify it, I'm afraid. Yeah. At least I don't know, maybe you know any that kind of tools. I have never had this kind of case to detect the content of the video in the written text. Yeah. It's up to the reviewers, to the editors to detect it. I think, if that was your question.
Yes, okay, thank you so much. We had, can we move to the questions slide? And if you have any answer to this question, please feel free to note from your own experience. If Avi can add something, you are free to do that before we move to your reflections from the group work.
Just want to make one comment. First of all, thank you for the presentation. It was there aren't many people who really see the full picture in terms of the complexity of this topic, right? People like having yes or no answers, so I appreciate the fact that you see the complexity of it. I just want to respond to the question that you posed about the doctor, and would we go to a doctor that uses AI? And because I think there's an important point to be made here. For some reason, when we talk about AI, a lot of scientists stop being scientific. Okay, so let me explain what I mean by that. There was a study that was published, I think in the last few weeks, showing that AI actually does a better job at diagnosing, when they have the full medical file, it can do a better job with diagnoses than a doctor on a complex medical file. So I agree with you, that doesn't mean that tomorrow we should all of a sudden be saying, okay, forget the doctors, right? Let's use the AI. On the other hand, I think it would be a mistake to just say, well, I don't know, I feel weird about it, so I'm not going to use it, right? I think we have to be evidence-based, and if we see that it can help us, then we shouldn't be ignoring that. So, in that particular question, I guess my approach would be, I would prefer to have a doctor who knows how to use AI, knows how to use the tools, and can think about whether that's helpful to them. It's kind of like a personal research assistant in their pocket. But my point is just that let's continue being scientists, right? Even when it comes to AI, let's not react from our gut, right? And say, well, this feels weird, so I'm not going to do it, right? And let's take a deep breath, say, okay, let's check, let's set up an experiment, right? Like, that's what we know how to do, and see how it comes out.
Yeah, actually, I will quickly comment on that. Yeah, perhaps that was what I meant. Yeah, so, but it turned out that it was a negative, way. But we actually had here at Ilia State University, we had a project with Dublin City University from Ireland that was we initiated to create AI in the medical field, in medical studies. So the Irish team, they created some video machine that was installed on the hand washing, so that when students have this assignment of hand washing, the video was recording and it actually checked whether this was done correctly or not. And so if it was done correctly, then it lighted green, then the red one, and so on. But and we submitted hundreds of videos so that it was, so yeah, I fully agree with you. I share that. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't use that, but yeah, this is something that the doctors might get familiar with and they start realizing that they should change the way they practice as we at the university. So I'm repeating this to my colleagues. So now we have to make some changes in our way of teaching, in the assessment, in everything. And this is something that not everyone are ready for, and wish for to happen.
Thank you for these answers. And as only doctor here on the panel, I would add something to that point. So very recently, World Health Organization suggests to implement smart guidelines concept, which means that we are digitalizing all the guidelines and preparing the system to use some algorithms to help doctors in easy decision making, which doesn't actually mean that the knowledge and involvement of doctor in diagnosis, etc., will be replaced by these algorithms and AI tools. But yes, we all recognize that, yes, medicine is not the exact science, and doctors had to know lots of information, particularly when it comes to the to so many medicines, how they react with each other. So it's a huge knowledge, huge information, and the science is going and going on, and more data are generalized, right? So yeah, doctors will need this algorithm to use to make more effective decisions based on evidence, but they should be able to check. So that's what we know. But yes, doctors, we would go to doctors who use AI eventually. It happens now, and it will happen. Doctors can use AI to check their decision, and that's okay. And what is AI again? Robotics. I mean, they somehow relate to the new tools, because robotic medicine can also use some AI approaches, right? So that's the future, and that's the reality. And if you have any specific questions to Giga and Avi to what we discussed now, please go on. And then we are moving to the group work reflections, which I'm really awaiting to hear how it was.
Yes, that can be done so many. Okay, thanks for this.
Yeah, just a reminder, we have 10 minutes only, and please be concise. Yes. Oh.
Okay, thanks for this comment. Because of my background, I'm a pediatrician. I cannot be agree with this kind of question. But what I want to tell, I also prepared a public lecture for my students, AI in healthcare system, and I was very happy when I identified there's so big progress in medicine, especially in diagnostic way. Just to give one example, it's cognitive disorders. You know how the percentage of these cognitive disorders also world is rising. For example, Alzheimer's diseases, and AI tool today is very helpful for recognition preclinical symptoms of cognitive disorders and between them for Alzheimer's diseases. It means we should just clarify how we are using AI. Again, what was your question? And thanks for this presentation. How to ethically use. You should understand how to use, in which way, not for just give some kind of ordinary patients, let's say, but again, in imaging process, for example, radiology, it's very helpful and make diagnosis around 99% correct. because of the big data and big images, and know how to improve this, let's say, not clear pictures for MRI or CT scan or others. It's question, just answer is we must use it, but we should know in which direction and ethically also, and with knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Yes, sure.
How to create in pharmacy, in development pharmacy, in manufacturing, they are big scientists with AI. They are working for creating, for developing new medicines, again for oncology diseases, for rare diseases. We have no medicines today, but they are very promising, these manufacturers with AI. Let's check, let's see what will be for future.
Thank you, thank you. Now I'd like to hear from the group work reflections. So who would be the first? Which group? Let's start from here.
So how was it? For us, the main problem was regarding teaching. We called it like AI cheating police. So the main point is teachers who are struggling with AI, who want to fight with AI, don't use AI, don't use ChatGPT for students. So our main guidelines was same as the PowerPoints of our speaker, but everything was same, but we would like to add some more details about if teacher or lecturer is having some ideas that student is using AI, he may just invite student and just go to critical appraisal of the assignment or of the exam and just ask questions and get the answers. And if the student is able to answer the questions, it means that maybe it was student was using AI, but the main point is that student is able to answer all the questions, so he knows the subject. So what's the problem? If he knows, if he used AI, maybe he was even, I don't know, studying during the exam time, just asked, ChatGPT answered, so he already knows answer. What's the problem? Our main idea is like that, so we can use the AI and ChatGPT in teaching, in exams, in assignments, but with ethical, with guidelines, so the teachers could also teach students how to use all the tools and give some guidelines and additional ideas, what would be better for which kind of assignment, as I was saying yesterday, for example, Perplexity and Cloud and ChatGPT and etc.
Very good. Thank you so much. Another group?
Yeah, so basically, so our team, we were representing the educational institution, and we were role playing as the educational institution, trying to resolve the issue with students irresponsibly using AI in terms of research processes. Basically our idea was that we could make some warning signs, prepare some warning signs for the students in question, in the sense that we would have the policies prepared for the students to keep in mind before they would be drafting let's just say, the introduction of their research paper. After the usage of AI would be detected, then the professor would receive the handout, and after it would be evaluated, the student would be given a warning on basically using AI tools in accordance to the guidelines given by the university. And if that weren't the case, or if that weren't the case, then basically the student would be given a penalty, and that penalty would, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, a bit well, anyway, I digress. It's hard to recall what we were actually talking about. I mean, maybe you could sort of explain it further.
So we thought that when the person starts with the research and everything, maybe because now many people are into the research, there maybe the ideology and everything will be similar. So what happens, or the way we work or the way we think, and we share our ideas so often in internet and everywhere, that maybe the thinking process of the person will be similar. So there can be a AI which can actually see and recognize that maybe I'm from this university and the other person from another university, and we might talked about stuff, and I started writing my paper, and that person also started writing the paper, but I kind of published first, and that person not ready for that, and not published, uploaded in the AI system, and then the other person, when they upload it, so they can get a warning sign that I have already uploaded, so they can work in another topic or in another direction. For if I talk about in a medicine, if I'm searching for any vaccine or for a medication or something, and I have already done, but the person also going for that thing, they can get a warning sign that is already done, you should go for another thing. Or maybe our professor can tell that how we can refine the topic, or we can refine the thing. After that also, if the person don't listen and continue with it, then the institute can actually give a penalty. And after that also, the third warning will be the disqualified the person and actually write in the in a CV that they have been disqualified because of this reason. So when they enter another university, the university administration can actually identify that what the thing they have done wrong and why they are disqualified because of that. So the university can aware the person's background. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your system was based mostly on penalties, right? Okay. So our researchers.
Hi, so we were researchers and publishers as well, but unfortunately, since our time is really limited, and our speaker really talked a lot about it, and he really touched every aspect of the ethical issues that might be during research or publishing. One of the main things also we discussed was the bias that when you try to write your article or then review your article based with AI technologies, then it might be really biased because it gets the information that is out there, and if you're having your research on underrepresented population or some regions that doesn't have a lot of papers or something like that, then it might get rejected if a publisher screens with AI, or the results, if you write an article with it, could be really write your research with your results and conclusions could be biased and could really have misinformation in them that would apply afterwards in policy changes or some applications and implementations. That could be a real problem. And for that, I think the world is already preparing to deal with these issues, and they also tackled many aspects how this could be avoided, and that's exactly what we were talking about, so I would not repeat again.
So you are very on the same page, right? Good. So this group.
Hi. So our teammates left, and we're the only ones left right now. All of the people that were speakers right now were kind of against usage of AI. Well, I strictly disagree, because we need to study AI due to the fact that it's becoming part of our lives. Also, we all know that we cannot live without AI. In the medical field, we also know there was a case where a little child went to few doctors and he didn't pretty much got diagnosed by those professional doctors, and ChatGPT all of a sudden decided that he had this kind of, medical case, and it was correct. And after all this time of search, ChatGPT suddenly came up with the, you know, kind of decision that they needed to do this kind of stuff to him, which truly made a great impact in the medical field, because like people were thinking that AI usage in medical field would have been kind of scary because it could also take someone's life. But we can see right now from the example that it can also give person another chance in life and also kind of help him to gain health and stuff. Also, like our other teammates were lecturers at the university, and they were kind of talking that it's hard to kind of find a difference between AI generated texts and speeches and also AI, whether it's yours or not. So I think it's not that hard and it's not that kind of problematic if you teach them how to use it ethically. Like, I mean, you know, when I get this kind of homework, like to do a presentation or something, I may ask ChatGPT to help me with some other stuff. And when I see how ChatGPT thinks, like his or her thinking is quite good because, like, you know, it has more knowledge than I do, and it also kind of helps me how to think properly. I start with some topic and then I go deeper and deeper, so it kind of, yeah, it's a great thing. I'll be done.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And the last group? No, not the moderator, please. Okay, and not the lady in green, so other people. Oh, come on. Because you have enough time to talk.
Like GPT, just talking.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was very interesting though, thank you.
Okay, I will try to explain our thoughts, to present our group's thoughts. Again, I will repeat our presenters' information. So we think about policies from university to make some rules which should be used by students to avoid some plagiarism. So several rules were which rules we have? So about.
So we are talking about the most difficult case. Whenever it's like undergraduate student and how to evaluate the paper. The primacy. Okay. So we took it's the end of the day and everybody's tired. So I will try not to bother people who are hiring at home as well. So, but we took the most complex situation, like, because if you are the PhD student, for example, like, it is easier, you work with your supervisor for a long time, you know each other, you know which part of research are done what. So we took the more complex part whenever there's lots of undergraduate students writing their essays, and we wrote the essay, we asked the GPT to write the essay, and he read it in a perfect style, like, if not better, not worse than the average student would write, citing very fancy papers, the Lancet, the World Health Care Organization reports, and so on. So the paper was very nice. So we came out of this result and think, how can we prevent it from the university? So as Dr. Avi said, for example, like when I'm coming to the doctor, I expect that he uses knowledge, he uses toolbox, he uses like traditional ones, like medical consiliums, by why not AI? But there is a doctor and there is like personal interaction and personal appreciation of the moment as well. So we implemented the very same approach. Like you sending the paper to the university, but you have given the face-to-face, the oral part of the paper presentation as well. And there is 2 or 3 tools that there are 3 tools. I will just name 3 of them. The main ones that you can define whether it is like plagiarism in a broader scope, which means like just taking something from other without the proper citing, not just stealing, but it doesn't matter actually, was the paper done by AI, by my mother, by my friend, or but the other one a part of me as a student itself. So we ask one question which is described in the reference that he used, in the articles that he used, but not in the paper itself. So if the student has read the article, he can answer. If no, if he read the article only, what AI wrote, in this case, he will fail. This is one option. Second option is to take one of the topics covered in the abstract or in the resolution part of the paper and give students some written work, just face-to-face work, like give me a deeper insight on this topic in 200-something word mini essay. If I know the paper, if I worked on the materials, I will be able to answer it, good or bad, but I will be able. If I haven't read the paper and GPT did it for me, I even didn't read the summary, I will fail as well. And the third, report me on how did you work on the project, which sources you used, which articles you shortlisted, which you don't know, and why. Writing this report is possible to imagine, but very difficult, and it will be one more preventive thing, because you will need to submit in verbal form the report on how you worked on your research. And like, I opened, I pressed, I wrote the prompt, I pressed, is not the answer. So the limitation of this concept is that it's a bit time consuming. You cannot do it from the office, you cannot do it from your laptop, from your email only. You need face-to-face contact, but same we were doing in exams, these oral defense things is in history part. Especially in our country, it was just like prevent that the paper was written by someone else, a person. So the same approach we can use to be sure that the paper was written by software only. So it can work as both preventive. We can advocate that AI can be used, but AI can be used with your consideration, under your supervision, and you shall understand. You shall understand the prompt, you shall understand what part AI worked in, and you shall get to know with the final result as well. Like, you can ask selecting the best papers, but it's up to you to read or at least understand the summary of these papers and not just giving out of your from the GPT, sending it direct to the university. This is in a short. We talked a couple of more ideas, but I don't want to bother anybody anymore.
Yes, we have also tomorrow to have some more ideas discussed. Thank you. This approach was a very nice mixed approach. What is interesting is that mostly the conclusions are very similar, right? They conclude that yes, you should use, but check and use it like in a proper way. We are over time, and thank you for being with us today. We have even more interesting day tomorrow and even more intensive day tomorrow, and I look forward to be with you, with our most cited people here, scientists and guests and local professors and everyone together, because tomorrow is really very exciting day. We will talk about research itself, the components of research, and then we will talk about the integration, the really practical integration of AI tools for each research component. So be prepared, please bring your laptops to do this and to practice more. Hope it was not very tiring today, and have a nice evening. Thank you.